Yeah, see, I don't think they can hear because Edward said you're recording. It's not. It's not, I don't know the settings.
Yeah, Holly's a minute.
So.
We're bringing, Walt Disney World, Mickey Santa to the service. That's what they guess for this year.
It's because of this terrorist attack. We discussed your feelings because they're saying that it's about you.
We got Fox
Message board.
audio on the fighting.
No, it's supposed to be out there. It's their law.
What is this about?
That,
The election.
that is not
Election.
law.
That's what elections.
That's
Hey, at least we're keeping updated on with elections, holding council, so that's like a good.
Really good. Well, see right there, that's showing you right there, that's coming into it.
And then you just roll this thing down. So where's the roll the button?
Is that hooked up to the YouTube?
Yes.
Election?
That's the HD.
So I thought we went to YouTube on
I'm
our.
assuming it's a live, or assuming it's a live feed.
Yeah. Did you rig the audio? Mayor, still, so we can stay updated with this? What do you guys do? I don't know how tech savvy you and
Which,
Councilman Thomas are.
I could do it, but I didn't.
Go back to the input.
Number 3 was.
No, it's on one. Supposed to be on.
What is 3? It's 3 was.
So.
They made the announcement for we vote for Republicans, when it's Republican, I wanted to check. Majority, that's what, I'm not too, I haven't been in the political realm since the last, so I don't think it's not even that's never been done. So,
I don't know, something like the table or something like that.
You know, is it just conservatives or?
I think they're over here.
Yeah. Don't be lazy. First of all, it isn't certain drug. And
Okay, so.
Changed its
Can you try? Go ahead and mute it. I'll get Holly on the phone. Okay, so let me see if I can.
he's not meant to have session tonight, huh?
Trying to go a meeting with that, though, is very difficult.
Was it doing it with your prior one?
Huh?
Was it doing it with your first one?
Yeah, we've been hearing results come in from somewhere for a while. We have to be quiet for about 5 minutes from the start of the meeting. Exactly that. Nobody touched anything. Yeah. It started and we're able to get it.
When's Oregon one go live? 7:30 tonight?
Our polls close at 8.
See you on the screen. Oh, let me let you-
They may be,
But we have my audio.
Where did they gather? We can read
Well, you have audio.
She got you to see if she
So I'm gonna put you on speakerphone,
can unmute.
just a second. Oh, can you unmute yourself? But we have the TVs on mute. So you're-
Yeah, we do, but also the computer.
That one be on unmute and we can hear, this one keep on mute.
I wonder if I did my, let me do my. Hold on.
Calling yours now.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Holly
we can hear you, so I'm gonna do this.
I'll put her on speaker. She can hear you guys. Say something, Holly.
This is Holly.
Can you guys hear her?
I can hear on your end, but
Okay,
okay.
I'll just set this up here.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like me to mute Zoom?
Yeah,
Okay.
unless, yes. Well, we've got the TVs on mute, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, so with that, we have now reconvened. We're back in an open regular session. First agenda topic will be appearances of interested citizens. Anyone want to speak?
So, there's microphones need to be on.
Okay, test, no, yeah, here we go. Rocky Shores, 2622 Nina Place, Hubbard, Oregon. Things are going good, with the December schedule, we're doing 3 events. Partnering with Jervis for the second annual drive-through on the 14th, right after our event. On the 9th, was it the second Friday? I'm not looking at the thing, so. But, we're doing it right the weekend, Friday after the Christmas tree lighting. So we got multiple partners. We got barrels donated to us, so we're doing less swab, GW Hardware, for Hubbard Chevrolet, possibly the post office, and a couple other locations gathering toys. We don't consider ourselves competition of Love Santa, but we are trying to do is partner up, kind of be a big our little brother to Love Santa and give kids opportunities to get toys that may not have made it to Love Santa's event, and when they come out to see the truck and get their picture taken, then they can leave home with a gift. So that's our mission, and that's why we've been created. So. Anybody have any questions? Regarding the parade, it's going to be great. This will be the 3rd one, so we started during the pandemic, and it should be interesting how our turnout is now that the pandemic's not per se. We kind of took a little hit during the Harvest Festival because people had options and they could stay home or go. Like during the pandemic, people had really no options. They wanted to have fun, so they came out. So we're still, I don't think it's going to hurt our outcome on our participation for this.
Okay. Only question I have, I hear parade, so have you coordinated with the?
Poster, and then I actually let Chief Rash know, like, how long ago, that was like 4 or 5 months ago we talked, and then you put on your.
I have the posted that you have the holiday thing. I don't know about a parade though. So what's the parade? Is it just down 3rd Street or what is it?
It's the regular holiday route that we do.
So, right, I just gotta point out to you, we don't have the resources to block roads, right? We don't. We do it once a year. We do it at the Hops Festival, and I solicit from other police agencies, right? And so, I don't know what December 9th, I know that Officer Bentley's gonna be out of the country. And that is a Friday, so I have 2 officers scheduled that day. Right, that means I gotta pull in the other officer myself for this. And that's just 4 officers for parade detail. We can't handle it. Right?
It's Christmas, so I feel that we're bending over and breaking all these rules for the Hop Festival, but when a community member that wants to put on an event for Christmas time, we're being told no. And you know what, while the Hop Festival was shut down, and during the pandemic, my group started, and we carried the community through so many rough waters. And with the ice storms, we stepped up and cleaned up streets on our own and cleaned up parks. And all we're asking for is 1 parade a year. It's Christmas time. That's not too much to ask.
So I disagree with the Hops Festival. That's done. It's been the city celebration for how many years? And that's coordinated where I solicit from all kinds of law enforcement to help us shut down the streets. I can't do that for every parade because the agencies don't have the resources to do that or pay the overtime.
We're okay with doing the Harvest Festival. We can do drive-through, that's totally perfect without any law enforcement. So I guess we'll just wing it, I guess, or change it to drive-through and just like run stop signs to get them.
You just can't wing things, right? Technically, it was breaking the law. It was stopping traffic. That's a law, right? Until we authorize shutting down the streets. I am telling you, we do not have the resources to do that. Every time we have a parade in the city, we kind of led a couple parades with 2 cars for the high school seniors during COVID, and for the we did a couple kids' birthdays who were locked in their house for COVID, those were short parades, right? And we're talking about doing the whole shutdown of, the truck routes and, on Third Street, right? That's a big square that we do.
And we worked on going later because Anderson had those issues and we ran the parade starting at like 6:37 when everything was, when traffic pretty much went away.
I don't mind coming in. I was just out of the state, right, for the last parade. I was in Texas, I think. I'll be here on December 9th. And but we'll have 3 cars. I'm not gonna bring an officer in on overtime.
Yeah, I guess what I'm asking, at least from my stance, is make sure, talk with Chief Rash. He's right, we just don't have the ability to continue to shut down for multiple parades.
Are we talking just going from Third Street, like over towards by your houses where you set up, go down to, we can't go J Street because the county won't shut it down, but G Street, G up to 7th?
Pretty much the same.
Is that what we do? Is it G to 7th and 7th down?
That's different than the hot festival, right? It's,
And we do different. We go all the down, Baines and go around there and J and then D and then we cross over to 99 and go Rainbow Loop and then come back and then finish on Nina. The only time we only cross over 99 was later. But I guess we can like take the seniors out, but you know, seniors kind of look forward to that. Let's go into their park and gives their family something to look forward to. But we don't have to do it, I guess.
yeah, I'm not trying to rain on Christmas spirit or anything. I'm just trying to also recognize we have to look at the recommendation from the police department on what we've got. I do also know we're gonna be trying to recruit another officer because we're gonna be down one.
Yeah, one after tomorrow.
I'm more than willing to work with you guys. It's just like, you know, this Christmas thing, when everything was taken away. And when we started this during the pandemic in 2019, people are loving this parade. We get so much good outcome from it. And if we start taking stuff away from our citizens, then we're gonna have backlash, I believe, if we start, because they're used to that parade now. They love it. It brings families out together. And they love the sign, they post the videos, and it brings the community together. And if we start taking this kind of stuff away from Christmas, what do we get to take away next? We're taxpayers too, right? And we pay a water bill on time and you know, you council our boss, and I mean, our taxpayers pay for our police and public works. So I'm just want to do the parade like once a year on December. We can do a drive-through for the Harvest Festival. But the thing with Christmas, I can't really budge there, man. We need this for our community. Christmas is a very important time of year to bring communities together, especially after elections. And if people, elected people don't get mad, it's already we're gonna have backlash because their candidates, I see it all the time in Alaska. When I live in Alaska, we have after elections, it's not good sometimes. And with this high heated thing this year with these candidates, we need something like this Christmas parade to forget about the elections or whatever the outcome is for that one night.
Okay. Other council?
If we have a citizen that has a problem with this parade, what are we supposed to tell them? Or we have because I got a couple complaints from people about the Harvest Festival parade. I mean, what do we tell them? Do we tell them to talk to Rocky? Do we tell them to call the police department? As I sat in business, it said they did burnouts in front of their business during this. Do you recall anybody doing burnouts?
Yeah.
Okay. That people in this town said that was dangerous. And they were not happy about it. They wanted to know where's law enforcement. Because they felt threatened. That's a dangerous situation to be doing burnouts in the middle of the street when there's people around. And so they felt like there was some lawlessness going on. So I'm not trying to rain on the parade, but this is why we're trying to come up with at least a safety set of standards, but I didn't know who to send them to.
Good point.
I saw the Harvest drive-through parade. I would have to agree with Counselor that it wasn't safe.
I guess we'll just do an organized drive-through, that's fine.
drive-through supplements.
Yeah, I think that's what you're hearing, Rocky, is
Unless it's sanctioned, where the Ts are crossed, the Is are dotted.
We pay taxpayer, and if we can't get no support, we'll do it on our own. It's fine.
I would defer to Chief Rash there. I mean, I can't say what your laws you are or aren't breaking. I'll just defer that to Chief Rash.
Well, what you're saying is we gotta pay our water bill and pay all our bills, but when we want to ask for stuff in return, we can't get no support. Live in this community.
That's totally false. That's not what we're saying.
Who helped out there, guys, on clean up? Who's watched your dumpsters for hours on hours? Who cleaned up the parks when this public works was had their hands tied? Who did this and who did that? When I asked for just simple help for a darn, parade, we can't get it. So you want our money, but when we want something, we can't get it? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what
The
we're
city
saying.
doesn't like getting their hands dirty for the citizens of Hubbard? Okay.
Rocky, that's not what they're saying at all.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not what they're saying at all. But you're also hearing an opposite side coming in, that there were some complaints on the drive-through Harvest Festival about peel-offs. I wasn't aware of that, actually. But if that did happen, then that is unacceptable. So when we're looking for individuals to put in paperwork, to coordinate with law enforcement, or to coordinate with public works, or to coordinate with the city, it's not to tie the strings or make someone jump through hurdles, it's to make sure that everything is done properly, so no one gets hurt.
Okay, I'll just go on the Hubbard community page after the next meeting and say, we're being denied a Christmas parade this year. Sorry, guys. If you want to see a parade, you gotta go to Jervis. Cause they allow us to do parades there, drive-throughs, but our own city won't give us none, so. Yes, let's move everything out of Hubbard, take everything away from our citizens. Cause you know what, just let Santa want to put on a parade, everybody be all in for it. We don't got police escorts, or Hot Fest wants, it, whatever, you know. Independent wants to do something, we're being denied.
I don't think that's the case at all.
That is exactly
No,
the case.
I don't think that's the case at all.
It is.
Part of it has to do with, safety, doing it properly. We don't have, one of the issues on Chief Brash brought up, we don't have the staffing. You have to be able to coordinate staffing that, costs money to bring in people for overtime, to bring in people in from other departments. You talk about you're paying the water bill and things like that. And that money is programmed into, providing that water, providing those services to you. That's already paid for. So that's part of the budget. We didn't budget for a parade in December for the staffing levels that that's going to cost. So it's not like, we're denying you something that it just was not pre-programmed in the system. And so if that was money that you had said, at the budget time, or you could have said, hey, we'd like to do a parade in December, and then we could have put that, finance that into the budget possibly, then it would have not been such a big deal. Now, when it comes to Hubbard Hop Fest, we know that happens every year. That money is budgeted into the system already. So that's kind of what part of what we're running into is we needed more pre-planning to be able to get this set up.
So we didn't have money, but we can give Hot Festival $1,000 for sponsoring their games or whatever we gave from the council, from our taxpaying dollars, right? Did we not give them like $1,500?
Yes,
We did in the city?
Pre-planned.
Okay, so that money could have went to the office, an officer for a parade for like an hour, right? Exactly.
Rocky, are you a 501c3?
No, why does that matter?
Because the Hop Festival is, we cannot give you money to go off and do something that's not accountable to the
Doing
taxpayers.
something the city should have did a long time ago by having a parade. It shouldn't have came down to me starting it. City should have did it long before me.
Any other feedback for council on this one? Okay, then we're gonna go ahead and move along. Rocky, I am very sorry you feel the way you feel. But we do also have to take into consideration the staff, what is being recommended and what the staff can handle.
How many people do we have show up when that gentleman, that Mexican individual got hit on 99? How many of our officers showed up to support their family and they said, oh, it wasn't part of Hubbard? part of Marion County, but hey, that 76 is pretty much Hubbard. We couldn't get nobody from the city to come out there to be supportive of their family. I had to go out there and get a visual myself.
Again, Rocky, that doesn't equate to anything dealing with the parade that we're talking about here.
I'm just saying, I'm adding things up, you know, the thing, if the city's not interested in it, the city don't want to get their hands dirty.
Rocky, we need to move on with the meeting, okay? And if you'd like to stay for the meeting, we'd love to have you. So I think if you continue, we're gonna have to ask you. to leave. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a big agenda though ahead of us. So we need to move on to number 5, discussion regarding the Hubbard Development Code, section 2.303, home occupation. And this one, we do have Holly online. Can you hear us, Holly?
Here.
Come on, we can't hear you.
Can you hear us? I can hear you. Are you on your phone?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Excellent, okay. Phone is on and Zoom is off. For the record, my name is Holly Byram and I work for the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments. My role is to serve as the consulting city planner for the city of Hubbard. Mayor Vicky let me know that the city council had a discussion about the home occupation standards that are included in the Hubbard Development Code.
Yep.
Excuse me. And so what I tried to provide in this brief staff memo, which is a basic overview of what the code says and how it's been used in the past. I can walk through that briefly if that's helpful. Essentially, the procedure section of the code is not clear for very simple home occupation applications. And so there's kind of a misalignment between this section, the home occupation procedure section, and then the application types, and then the fees. And so I would agree that there is confusion and it can be improved. Staff is willing to help you through this process, but really I'm just hoping this evening to hear kind of what the concerns are and what the end goal is here. I would just remind the council that most of your residential zones are intended to be primarily residential, but they all allow a resident to have a home occupation as long as they follow the standards. And the reason we have these standards are to protect their neighbors' rights for their own enjoyment of their property next door. And so it's kind of a balancing act between supporting local business startups and local businesses in your community, and also protecting the neighbors' investments. How we've done this in the past is an individual would make an application to the city. The planner would do a quick review, write a one-page letter that kind of details what business is being proposed. So it's documented how it's going to operate. So if there's too much growth or scope creep in the future that starts operating something larger than a home occupation, something that maybe should be in a commercial zone or an industrial zone, the city has the ability to say, you know, it's time, this is no longer compatible with the neighborhood. We need to talk about your location. Without that quick review, we would simply be relying upon business owners to self-report that they are in compliance with the home occupation standards, and then relying on your local police department to do enforcement when we get complaints from neighbors. So really the question is, what's the best procedure here? How do we want to run these home occupations?
So the original question that I brought up a few months ago really went around the question of a home occupation when they hit this threshold of a $1,500 requirement to start an application fee. The concern that I got in at least one complaint was they felt like they don't have any customers. They're just a small little construction company that doesn't even actually do any work within their house. But that's where they obviously generate their contracts or whatever, and then they go out and they were wondering why they had to pay $1,500 to be able to do it. So that just made me start asking the question, well, what happens if someone is doing a candle, I don't know what they're all called, but the candle companies, right, or build Tupperware parties, whatever it might be,
technically, they might want to set up and call themselves a business, they're gonna be generating revenue. And I believe the original threshold of what, $2,500 revenue a year was that threshold to actually then have to go in and do this home occupation deposit of $1,500, et cetera, et cetera. Looking at the guidelines, I'm not in disagreement that if someone's setting up a massage parlor, or someone's setting up auto body or detailing shop, obviously, that's not something that would be done out of someone's garage. And the neighbors aren't gonna notice something like that. But my bigger concern might be those that might be reselling things off of eBay. Maybe they bring things in, they sell them, or maybe they're doing Craigslist sales or something like that. To where they're not gonna be having customers per se come in. They aren't trying to generate any traffic, any disruptions to their neighbors. And the real question goes back to, do they really need to put in a $1,500 deposit? Which maybe they only make $3,000 a year, that's 50% of their revenue right there, not profit. That they're then gonna have to have someone in at the city look at an application and Holly, you get drug in or someone from the top to say that, oh no, it's okay, they don't need to do it. They're perfectly fine. So I think that's what the question's really coming back to is, are we making it difficult for people to want to self-report if they see a potential of a $1,500 fee, or is it maybe easier to have the staff do the review in-house to first see if they even have to go to that level? The individual I talked to, they just complained to me about the $1,500, quite honestly. They didn't mention that there might have been a staff review or something that they could have gone through that would have been simpler. But even at that, at $300, it's still a lot for someone to come in and fill that in if they're just doing maybe a small business. I don't know if that addresses some of the background why I brought this in.
Yeah, and I would be curious for Vicky's feedback as to, the past few years, what we're seeing in terms of, are these mostly $300 applications that we're seeing? Because I didn't find very many or any in the file that went to a planning commission level of review. Most of the examples that I found, some people at 1998 were all staff level page approvals.
Right. But we still have to pay for your time to review and whatnot. And the last time we reviewed this, we were going over the $1,000 deposit, and that's why we increased it. I'm wondering if maybe the council might want to consider in the Hubbard Municipal Code, that $2,500 increasing it, because then the person wouldn't need to register. And then that's what kind of kicks in, well, you're doing the business, now we have to go to this home occupation process.
Which, by the way, is something I think council brought up the last time we talked about, and see if we can't raise that 2,500, 20, whatever it was, so maybe 10,000. My recollection on that one wrong? I think that's what we were kind of looking at. I think we were fine with the language. Again, we want to make sure that, yeah, masseuse parlors and auto body detailers aren't setting up in someone's neighbor's garage, because that could be pretty annoying. But we also wanted to make sure we found that when does that threshold cross from maybe a hobby type thing of eBay, Craigslist, reselling to, someone's primary income source.
They get a semi-load every week.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need semis in our neighborhood.
That'd be a pretty big disruption. Yeah.
And again, the only way that we know is if they come in and they want to register their business, or somebody, their neighbor says, I see all this activity going on, or.
So the process, though, right, is they come in and register, and it's a $50 fee to register the business, correct?
Well, they'll want to register, and I go, oh, wait a minute. You may need to go through this process here, and we send them over to Holly, and they say, yes, according to this, you have to go through the home op, and that's a deposit application, yada, yada.
So when did we have we ever done a $300 one then, the staff evaluation?
This one.
Yeah, I'm looking at this one here on the back page of it. It's got 3 levels.
Yeah, that's a fairly new deposit amount. We have not done one of those.
So recommendation, and you can all laugh at me later. Could we just make it a simple, someone comes in, wants to register their business, say, okay, you're new, go through this initial form, check the boxes that apply, don't apply.
make that one, I mean, just free, you can take a look at it, and if they cross any of the threshold, 10,000 or whatever, then I'm assuming we move them to a $300 deposit for us to do a little bit more in-depth study about what they're doing.
And how would you get your information? Without driving out and watching every day, see when the cars come and go, or?
Right.
Well, I'm assuming it would be initially self-reporting and then neighbor complaint.
It seems like a lot of work for.
Well, to be honest, I can't really take on anymore at this point until we get more staffing. That's why everything goes to Holly. She's the expertise on the development code. So, I mean,
You know, our concern though is 1,000 or 15, is it 1,500 or 1,000?
it's 1,500.
So it probably that definitely needs to go up.
This, what we
You mean the revenue? Okay.
we want them to pay for the review that Holly's doing. We don't want us going in a hole for people coming in to, I mean, what we've done in the past where we had the deposits, they were under, and then I was trying to collect, and then that was a whole nother issue.
Oh, I can see that, very much so.
I'd rather be refunding than.
So could we alleviate maybe some of this by just upping the revenue requirement from what that home occupation would be from 2,500 to 10,000?
And does it state it's only for residential zone?
No, there's two different things. So the business registration is it's $2,500, but technically they are doing a business out of their home. So it's kind of like a flag. Okay, you're doing a business. Are you, technically they should be looked at to make sure they're in compliance with what your development code says that they are doing. ABCD, you fall under this. If you're under 10,000, if you're $2,500, or if you're under $2,500 according to this, then you don't need to register, but you do need to comply with ABCD, EFG in the code. So it is something that they need to be following.
Okay, so again, could we, I mean, what would it take for us to up that level to 10,000 at least on that checklist?
So the 10,000, that's the, it'd be an ordinance to change amend the ordinance that you currently have.
Okay.
And are you sure you wanted it 10,000?
So,
Well, that's a number I'm throwing out there.
so I have another question, and I'm just kind of listening to the way you're explaining things. So let's say somebody comes in, wants to register a business, and they're making, $2,000 a year on it. And but you say, well, that's a business that needs to be looked at through the development code anyway. And so it's gonna cost them $1,500 just to have it reviewed, make sure they meet the development code through, Holly. Is that correct?
That's correct. And
So it doesn't matter what their income level is, if they're doing a home business, it still needs to be reviewed through the development code.
See, I read it that once you go through the checklist, at least on the ordinance, is that if you didn't meet the threshold, then you became this what type 1, maybe level 2 or whatever it was.
so it's a matter of them thinking they need to register because they're making more than $2,500. So they come into the city and they go, I need to register my business. Okay. Then we go through this is what the home oc is, and you have these guidelines that you need to go through. So we hand them all that stuff, and here's an application, and off the way they go. And then they decide if they want to apply or not.
People probably wouldn't balk at a $50 business,
No, they would have
but
$1,500.
once they see the 1,500, it's a hello business. in my house. And that, I would think that's just defining the residential, because obviously we're gonna require anything major for any of our industrial, commercial,
Right, that's a whole different.
That's a whole different. This is one of the home occupations, yes.
residential zone, possible home business.
So what I'm understanding is not based upon the dollar amount, although that's what would bring somebody in. But let's say somebody, is just doing the business, wants to get on our business register, so that way, somebody looking for candles and others, they go, oh, there's Tennessee, I'm gonna give them a call, that, you know, and then whoever does that, gets on the list, still has to pay the $1,500 for.
To have a home review, to have a home city to buy. Yeah. And that's what the concern is, it's a lot of money.
I mean, I remember that, that was when I was doing my candy business. Candy business never made any money, it just paid for the business. You know, that was a discussion with Vicky, and Vicky says, well, why don't you register? And that way you was on the city, you know, list of businesses. And that way somebody, you know, is interested in getting a candy vending machine in their business, they'll give you a call. I thought about it, and I said, well, this night, well, you know, my revenues are well under $2,500 a year. And so I didn't bother. But I'm just thinking, if I would have went ahead and pursued that option, I'd have to pay $1,500, which is, you know, like I said, the business never actually needed a dime.
Yeah, well, and that's the reason why we're even talking about it here, is how do we encourage home occupation in that sense, but at the same time not be prohibitive or set in place fees that individuals are just gonna, as you say, either ignore it or say, yeah, no, I don't have a business. That's a concern.
I did candy man business for 3 years, and I said, "Can you win the money? Just give me a little." Yeah, that's what I was.
Candy man.
That was candy man.
What do they do in other communities? Are they doing the same or similar things than what we're doing?
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at my other communities, this afternoon, just to get a feel, and they're all pretty consistent. They're all doing a type 1, just kind of a simple staff review. One of them just does it at the counter at City Hall, and then they defer to the city planner if they have any questions. And then the other 3, do just a really simple 1 or 2 page letter too.
How much is the one that just gets reviewed at the counter, you know?
I don't know, but I can look that up while we're online here. I think for most of those, they're very basic yes or no.
That's checks.
Yeah, and maybe that's something that Hubbard could consider, is doing a checklist for the business to self-report, and then if any of them, well, it just seems like most of the businesses you're gonna see coming in aren't gonna meet that $1,500 threshold for a reason.
But that's enough to scare somebody away.
Yeah. No, I understand that.
But I do understand too that Vicky, Director Noble, and the staff is overbooked, but hopefully we'll have some relief in there soon, with at least someone part-time to help.
Yeah.
And as I'm looking at it, we've only got 26 actual applicants in the last, what is it, 98 to 21?
Yeah, so we have 26 files in there. I'm not sure if there have been others that have been discouraged and are not self-reporting. Could be.
23 years, 26 applications, roughly 1 year.
So maybe Holly could work on a checklist, that we could work on a checklist and, kind of see how that works. And if it looks like the applicant or the person coming in, there's some kind of iffy thing going on that they're doing, then it would maybe go into the next level.
I would think that'd be fine. Holly, is that something we can ask you to do, is just to see if there is a checklist or something that other cities might be using, that we can then basically have something printed out, ready to go, hand them at the window, fill this out. Then city staff, when they have an opportunity, can just do a quick review of it. Why don't we go ahead and do that? We can table the rest of this discussion until next council meeting.
So you're upping their money.
Yes, but the question still is pending, is 10,000 the right level, or does it need to be higher or lower? I'm still thinking 10,000 is a pretty good threshold. I think that's starting to cross the threshold of someone who's got a hobby business to someone who's actually generating some decent income and revenue. Council, guys, everyone agree on that at least?
Sounds like a decent fair level.
Okay, so do we request then that an ordinance be drafted to revise the profit threshold for a home occupant business from, I think it's 2,500 to 10,000. I think, I'm also trying to encourage to see if we can get other, maybe home occupants who's actually come in and sell before. That might be nice.
To answer the earlier question, the city that I saw doing the home op checks at the counter, their home occupation fee is $70.
So there you go. So it's just a simple, you pay your $70 and register your business. The $70 is the one time, $50 is your annual renewal for keeping the business in the city.
So does that city already have a checklist that we could just use?
I think what they do is they have the applicants initial the home occupation standards. I don't know how thoroughly the applicants are reading those standards if they're standing there at the counter. So that might be something to use a checklist for as opposed to just initially.
Okay,
I think it'd be easier if we can get something more than just someone to scribble, because they're just gonna scribble and be done with it. It'd be good, like we do when you buy a house, if you were to have to actually put your initials next to each criteria that you're acknowledging. There we go. Okay, anything else on this one? Thank you, counselors, for that lively discussion. Holly, thank you for your thorough input. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, next one, mayor or council presentations. The only request I do have is I do have a request coming from the city is counselors, please, once a week, once a day, possibly in the evening, just check your email. We have a lot of emails going back and forth. If possible, please, just at least once a day. That's all. That's the only update I've got. Any other presentations or updates from council? Councilor Allen? I have none. Councilor Thomas? Councilor Rogers?
We have started accepting applications for system, holiday system. So the next one is this Thursday from 6 to 8 at Woodland Public Library. And if you know somebody who needs assistance, please send them that. Proof of residency, ID for the kids, and they'll get signed up and get them the assistance that they're looking for.
That's all. If there's nothing else, let's move on then to the police department. Chief Rash.
So there wasn't too much on here. Chris Davis, Officer Davis has submitted his resignation. I believe it was on October 31st. And his last day will be Thursday. So, sad to see him go. He has a great opportunity at the Community Police Department, but he did a great job for us in the 7 months that he was there.
Phenomenal job. He was an excellent hiring.
With that, as soon as he gave the resignation, we got the job posted, so hopefully we'll get some apps in. We only had 3 last time, so hopefully we'll get more than that. So if you know anybody, encourage them to apply. And then you guys will be in the consent agenda with the ARPA funds. I want to get the utility one. I've been working 5 months with Love Inc. They're ready to go. So once that signed copy, they'll get that going. We've had one person already ask for assistance down there. So, and then I want to get the other 2 because they are for the holiday season, and we'll need those resources. So that's ready to go. The other 2 that we have is for the Memorial Park, the Carl Park. I've been in contact. I'm not Linda. I always forget her last name. Thank you, Linda. But I talked to her, and we'll get that one rolling. I hope to have that for you guys in December. And the other one is the Liberty House. Liberty House is the children interviews for kids who potentially were abused in some sort. They have a satellite office there in Woodburn that'll be accessible to us. So I'll get those. I've been in touch with both of those organizations. We'll get those for you to review and sign. And then the last thing is the security of this building. It is a dedicated ARPA funds with the camera system and everything that I'll revisit that once I get these other ones done. And the last of the ARPA funds is what has been allocated to public works in the water. So I'm sure they'll take that because I don't have a clue. Hopefully it increases the water pressure or something at some point. But and then Councilman or Councilperson Autry brought up, I think 2 meetings ago, we just went over food pantry. There was, I think, 5,000 each track, or maybe it was 2,500. I would have to check. It was 5 each time, so 10,000. So there's 10,000 ARPA funds there. If you want us to come up with something and maybe make a proposal, or if there's something else. So I'd be interested to see on the utility billing. 25,000 seems like a lot to me for this size city, but we won't know until it's functioning and how fast it goes.
Yeah, that's the other problem. Once it's drained, it's gone too.
Yeah, so we can maybe hold that to 10,000 to see how it goes this year. So I mean, I have a ton of ideas we can do for the police department, but I don't know. We want to wait and see on the utility billing.
I think holding it for now or a reserve would be perfectly fine, especially going into the economic issues we're going to be facing.
Yeah, so, is there any questions on the ARPA funds?
Not for me.
Okay. Other than that, any questions about this fund?
When do you hope to have your first interviews?
Oh, well, it's open till December 8th. And it's usually 2 weeks to set up a written test. And then generally it's 2 weeks after that, the high scores or anybody passes usually we'll do an interview. So we're probably towards the end of December. Yeah. And I mean, it's still, there's so many law enforcement positions out there. So it'd be nice to score somebody who's been to the academy like we did with Officer Davis. Because the academy's pushed back till May now. Yeah, so yeah, it's my understanding the metro area chief, this Portland area, had a conversation with the academy today that I was at the retirement down in state, and the Tiger chief was telling me that, but I don't know how that went. I think they've been budgeted money. Problem now they're having is staffing to accommodate 3 police academies, 1 correction academy, for own probation. They just don't have the manpower to have instructors. It's
Just one academy for the entire state. It's a lot to go.
so there was a time in the early 2000s where they allowed the Portland Police Bureau to run their own basic academy. That lasted for 2 years and it became a political thing. So it went back to Salem. So I don't know.
So we're going to be down probably for at least through April.
We can get somebody on. I know Gresham's running a mini academy because I think Canby has got an officer there. Mini academy is a watered down version, giving them use of force and hopefully some scenario based training, laws, obviously firearms and all the other stuff we do. So they ran one here in Marion County last year when we hired Officer Davis. We just didn't need to send Officer Davis because he'd been through pretty good at Washington County and the basic academy. So I'm in constant contact with other agencies. We have options so we can send somebody to get at least training so we can get them in the field training before the basic. So it's just that I don't want to hire somebody to get the keys and like the old days. Right? We don't want to do that.
No, why don't you keep doing what you're doing? You're hiring excellent candidates and we have a fantastic police force. Questions for Chief Rash from council? Councilor Gunn?
I do have one thing to add, and I apologize, Councilor Youngers. You asked for a little spill in the newsletter.
Yes, sir.
And I missed the deadline, but we have one crafted for the December one already.
Okay, sounds good. Didn't highlight it. I have questions and I'm trying to find it. Apologize.
Okay. We'll go to Councilor Thomas real quick. Okay. Councilor Rogers?
I have no question.
Right back to you.
I didn't know. Fireworks, you know how people shooting off fireworks?
Oh,
You tell them on
But I mean,
yeah, I'm not sure when.
between holidays here.
I'm not sure when those were. I didn't catch it on here, but we get fireworks complaints when we show up and we can have a look through them.
Okay, yeah, just kind of still shooting off fireworks. Okay, that was it. I had a I did have a question about the FIR loan, since well, that I had a chance to speak with an officer, and he's coming back.
Oh, self-interview. We used to do 3x5 cards, now it just goes right into the computer and dispatch. It's called a per card is what it was called back in the day.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
Wonderful. Chief Rash, thank you very much. I don't see our fire district, so we'll move on to administrative department real quick, and that would be for Director Rule.
My report, you will be, seeing an email come out for a head count. I'm gonna get an estimated head count for the holiday, award banquet. Just a heads up on that. And I, needed to ask for authorization from the council to allow me to move forward, offering the part-time admin assistant position to the top candidate. And, so if you guys didn't have any questions of my report, I would need to, get authorization from you for that.
Awesome. So you didn't put that in the consent agenda?
No, this came, that all happened during the week I was doing packets, and, I sent you guys out an email that explained all of that.
I know. On top of that too, for those that don't know, Director Mobile is dealing with quite a lot of IT issues with Fox News playing in the background.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think I'm jinxed.
You must be. I will make a motion that we approve, Director Noble to extend an offer to the part-time assistant for city staff. Okay, all those in favor say aye. 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 All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion carries. Any other questions for, Director Noble? Start with, Councilor Roberts.
HVAC, then, fix those things,
The what?
the HVAC, the dampers,
Friday.
oh, Friday.
Yeah, he was supposed to be out today, and then I got a conflicting message from the company. And it's gonna be out Friday morning at 8 o'clock.
Excellent. Councilor Thomas?
No questions.
Councilor Young?
No questions.
Okay. Thank you, Director Noble. Let's move on then to Public Works.
Okay, the only thing that I've got a change for the report that you've got in front of you is item number 3, training. As of the point that this came out, I had completed 12 of the 15. As of Friday of last week, I've completed all 15 of the courses. So I'm waiting to get my certificate from the University of Iowa, and we'll move forward from there.
Fantastic, and congratulations for getting all that done.
Thank you. Other than that, do you have any questions for me?
I'm assuming number one, we'll have further discussion on.
Yes.
The water line breaks, I know I notified you and, Melinda on this as well. I guess no citizens called, but I guess we had some dirty water showing up probably after the water line breaks. Is there any way in the future that we can throw a notification up, even if it's on the city page, even if you said we need to relink it, so we can just let individuals know that there was a water line break, it's been repaired, and there could be some discoloration in the water?
The thing about it on that one is it was a fire line ran into the trailer court at the end of D Street. And I got the line shut off, and we got it repaired, and we trickled the water back in. I didn't think it was going to be a problem because we didn't have anybody technically shut off from water. But I guess the flow was enough through it to break some of the cracks that grows on the inside of the pipe. So next time, yes, absolutely, we will put a.
That's fine. I noticed even online, you have a notification, because I was digging through the public works site. And you do have, if your water is discolored, just let it run for 10 or 15 seconds and it should clear out. So, but either way, thank you for acknowledging though that I seen your message. You said you'll look for any one that has any issues or complaints, so you're on the lookout for it. So thank you.
The other thing is I've noticed, lots of sidewalks being replaced. Is that because of the initiative with the $1,500 or? Or is it because we were sending out notifications that your sidewalks busted, you need to fix it?
It was been okay.
Okay.
We did actually have one though that was functional, that wanted to take advantage of it and, are doing a whole block.
Well, I think I saw Sullivan do a block somewhere, so that was kind of nice. But either way, it's nice to see that. Do we have any update? And it's probably in here, so I'll apologize beforehand. On the Union Pacific crossing.
We're still working through that. Very complicated contract. Legal's still looking at it. And we've got some time at this point because this is not a real great time to be doing this construction. We hope to have it processed out and ready to do it April, May.
I'm gonna place all the questions. Councilor Young, any additional questions?
No additional questions. I just know that crossing is problem, sidewalk, whatever.
I tripped on it last night going up the bottom of my ball.
It's a decades old challenge. And it'd be great if we could get that finally in place.
We'll do a ribbon cutting. Councilor Thomas?
No question.
Councilor Aldridge?
I had inquired about some fire hydrant issues, and they said there's some parts on back order.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a snafu with that. The guy that was coming out from Ferguson had some family emergency last week, so I called him up again today, and he's gonna be out Friday afternoon. We'll take a look at that. He'll get the numbers of all 4 of the fire hydrants over there that need to be replaced, and he says that they're more accessible at this time, but we'll see how long that takes once we get the order in place.
And then is it possible to get the library books off the top of the restrooms at City Park?
I thought they were, so they must be reoccurring, jumping out of the, back under the roof. Yeah, we'll have the guys deal with it, soon, tomorrow
I think
or,
they're kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are they coming out of the?
Yeah.
Little library.
Or,
Our little free library. Yeah.
Yeah.
other than that, I have no other questions. Thank you.
Real quick, actually, on the leaf disposal, this year we moved it down to Barnsley, right?
Yes.
Do you think that might have been, obviously the leaves seem to be hanging on these trees a little bit longer, but do you think that might have caused it, which I don't think it's a bad thing, but not having as much demand for it since people just didn't see it driving through town?
We had that discussion and it's possible, but for us, the cleanup there is a whole lot easier than it is at Reverend's Park. So it was one of those situations where it was a suggestion by one of the employees of Public Works, and we thought, why not try it?
Oh, I don't disagree with it. I think it's a smart idea. You don't have the passerbys that don't live in the city seeing a bunch of stuff. Oh, I'm gonna flip it, trash. I'm just gonna dump my trash here. The city's fixing things here. You actually have to be a resident of Old Barnes Park is, and oh, there they are.
And,
No, I thought it was a great idea.
and it also gives a better opportunity, because one of the things he suggested is instead of them throwing the leaves in the dumpster themselves to pile them up in a certain spot, we can take the backhoe and scoop them in, and that way we can get, one, we can see what's there. And 2, we can get it more evenly spread out to the dumpster and we'll be able to hold more.
And it's easier, as you said, a lot easier for the back of the truck up, dump the leaves out there is to try to get them off. No, well done. Thank you. Great idea.
So I'll pass that on to Juan. It was his brainchild.
We did well on that one. Also, the only other thing, since you did mention the books on top, I did notice when I was walking around when it was still light out, that we have a lot of moss filled up on the south side. I think that would be of the roof. Is that something we can spray some zinc on before we have to replace the roof over there?
Yeah, it's something we do periodically. Well, we did up until not having the personnel, but I'll get somebody up there to deal with that.
It didn't even dawn on me until you mentioned the books, but I noticed the book the other day. I thought that's a shame, you know. But the other part was the roof was pretty starting to look like the ground.
Well, I also noticed that I'm thinking the gutters were a little bit of TLC also.
We only had that for like 7 years old now, only 6 years maybe. It's not that old. So thank you. Any last minute questions for Public Works?
I think they should put a sign near the books that says smile, you're on camera.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I know that, that particular, little library that's there has had some historical challenges.
They've broken the door twice, the glass, you took the glass off.
Yeah.
The books vanished all in one point.
So the question I have is, you know, we have a couple other around town, can we remove or move it to a different location? You know, does it get a lot of high use there? You think it's a lot of use there?
I've actually seen parents and kids pulling books out and putting books back in. I think we just had them.
I was just, you know, it wasn't getting a lot of use, it was getting a lot of, you know, vandalism and whatnot.
More
Maybe
about,
just be a-
I think it's more about parents explaining to their kids what a book is.
Yeah.
Cover, pages.
Yeah, and whoever actually put the door on the one over by the laundromat, that's nice, because I know that one was also broken. And I think last year it got rained out pretty good. It looks like someone put a door on it, so. Again, I think it's appreciated. I've seen them used. So. And I can't think of another area where they're not gonna get the weather. That's a perfect location. That's in good weather. So maybe the smile here on camera might be a good one.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll move along, into the discussion regarding this PFAS, or I'm not gonna even try to say it.
Yeah, it's one of those chemical names that's 49 letters long and it's really hard to say. Polyfluoroalkyl substances. And it's one of those substances that the EPA is now getting around to take a look at because it's one of those substances that highly contaminates drinking water. And where they're at now is that it's a voluntary testing program. And for us, it was the state that actually paid for that to be done. And each one of those tests cost about $2,500. So what this recovery program states is that because they're thinking that it's going to be a mandate from the EPA, they're trying to get some assistance through the manufacturers of these chemicals. I did a little research on it, and it's the big, very big chemical manufacturers like DuPont or 3M that they're actually going after, the ones that make it, not the ones that use it. And well, some of the uses for it is Scotchgard, Teflon, firefighting foam, metal plating, and stain resistant fabrics. So what we have found out in the past when they have passed these things to the EPA is that if it's in your system, removal is very, very expensive. So what they're trying to do is get ahead of it and say, okay, we're going to put a lawsuit towards these people, and they're going to be responsible for at least part of the cost for having to remove it from the drinking water. It's working sort of like the same way they did with asbestos. They sued the asbestos manufacturers, and they've got a lump of money there that goes towards cancer patients and people that have died for it. So I guess what we're asking here is that you guys, the council, authorize us to go ahead and throw our hat in the ring for this. There's the letter from legal that basically says that we don't really have anything to lose. And,
Yeah, I'm reading her last paragraph pretty much said that at the end of the day, it's no cost to the city. If we do believe we can show harm. I mean,
right.
So do you think we actually have a case to be able to show harm?
Not at this point. We tested non-detect, but there's always that possibility in the future.
And still, no upfront cost to us. It's just the staff time to go through the effort.
And this one made my head kind of spin because what they're testing for, the limit on this is so small, it just absolutely is mind-boggling. It's 4 parts per quadrillion. And that's 4.0 times 10 by the negative 15 power. Right.
Okay, on this one, council discussion, Councilor Yama.
Well, I know that these, PFAS has been, in discussion for quite some time, about contamination. Probably one of the biggest concerns is, all the Teflons out there. I've got Teflon cans I use almost daily. It was getting into our drinking water. I mean, when we, dispose of products, we put them in our landfills, we, dump cleaning solutions out, into our yard sometimes. Either the carpet cleaning, pour it down the toilet, which then goes to our, sewer plant, which then ends up in the stream down here, or, if we need something watered out there, we dump it on the flower, and hopefully we're keeping our fingers crossed that that's, not gonna harm our water supply too badly. Whatever it is we're doing with this PFAS, and it's in a lot of stuff. So if we're not detecting it today, we probably will at some point in the future. It's in our ground. So it just hadn't not as percolated down to that level. So I'm definitely in favor of going in with this, cost recovery program.
Councilor Thomas?
Yeah, I agree with Mike. Test for it, there's no negative repercussions, I'm not gonna test for it.
Councilor Rogers? Okay. So looking back at the agenda then on this one, it's just discussion. Do you need, is it part of your consent agenda? Okay, so do you need a motion and approval from us then? Okay, I will make a motion then that, the city of Hubbard join in the, I'll just use the acronym, PFAS, cost recovery program. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to consent agenda. I will read these titles. Approval of city council minutes. First one, September 13th, 2022, regular meeting. Number two, September 21st, 2022, special meeting. B, approval of October 2022 check register reports. C, approval of application for North Marion Fellowship to use Centennial Park December 2nd, 2022 for Christmas tree lighting ceremony and authorize the city to pay for the lighting cost. D, approval of ARPA funded social services grant agreement between the city of Hubbard and Bricks of North Marion, Inc. and authorize the mayor to sign. Approval of ARPA funded social service grant agreement between the city of Hubbard and Love Santa, Inc. and authorize the mayor to sign. F, approval of ARPA funded services, social services grant agreement between the city of Hubbard, the Love Inc. of North Marion County and mayor to sign. Just like typo on that one. Approval of a 2% incentive pay increase for Vicki Noble, Director of Administrative City Recorder, for obtaining the Local Government Management Certificate, LGMC, effective November 1st, 2022.
Make a motion to approve consent agenda as stated.
Okay, all those in favor of consent agenda say aye. 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 All those opposed say nay. Consent agenda carries. Moving on to other city business. We're around the opposite way this time. Councilor Rogers.
One thing, I was contacted by Love Inc. They have put together a suicide prevention little 1-hour training module. And they want to know if the city of Hubbard was interested in coming in at a council meeting and giving that. They've done it for Woodburn, they've done it for Jervis. If that's something we want to look at, since Chief Rash will be in contact with them, maybe we can, I just told the director that I will bring it up to the group to decide.
So you want them to come in and do a presentation?
It's up to.
Just like an update on what they're doing, how they're going to prevent this.
Somehow they put together, they were asked to do a program, I think by Steve Whitmer, and they did it. And then Jervis is now asked to be also get that program. I think it's maybe for council members and city staff, about preventing in our community. So I don't know much more about that, but I said I would present it. I don't know if that's something that the Chief Crash is going to be in contact with.
Yeah, I'll probably be in contact tomorrow with her to give her the, I send the nursing assignment tonight.
Maybe he can give a little more information for us.
When is National Suicide Prevention Month?
It's
February? April?
pretty cool.
April? Okay, maybe that would be good leading up to that, especially since we're going into the very dark and gloomy 9 months of winter.
So,
Thank you. Councilor Thomas. Councilor Yama? I don't have nothing. Okay, nothing for me. Then the last topic is adjournment.
make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. You saw what we did with
I will zoom in on every time.